Welcome to Strongbrook Radio, leveling up with today's thought leaders. What you're about to hear are powerful insights, entertaining stories, and life-changing principles from some of the most innovative minds in the world today. This is Strongbrook Radio.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. This is Stephen Michael Miller. This is Strongbrook Radio. So glad to have you here. If this is your first time tuning in, I want to say welcome if you've been with us many times. As always, we're so glad to have you here. Hopefully you've got your pen and paper ready because we're going to go and jump right into some amazing things here, and so glad to do so. And as always, we're here to talk to individuals that have figured out solutions to problems. People that had a situation or scenario in their life where they needed a good solution, and they stuck it out. They really got into it. They dug in, they investigated, and they found out solutions so that you and I could find a legitimate shortcut, or we could access a legitimate shortcut and really accelerate our own progress. So I'm really excited today. I've got an individual with me who is a very successful man, someone that I'm really excited to have on the show today. And this is something that, I think for all of us, physical fitness maybe sometimes seems like a chore, but I think that for all of us, we also understand its necessity. It's a huge part in being happy, but being healthy is so much more than just that physical fitness side of this, which is why I'm so excited to have Travis Brady here with us today. Before I bring him on, I want to make sure I give him a proper introduction. Travis Brady has been training for over 13 years combined. He's worked as a strength coach with University of Utah football team. He's worked as a strength coach with Westminster College. 7 different fitness, nutrition, and life coaching certifications. And so he's definitely well qualified. He's also going to be featured in Oxygen magazine in February as an expert trainer. And he's a member of the National Speakers Association. He loves presenting, sharing his knowledge, and inspiring people. So without any further ado, Travis, are you there?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, fantastic. So great to have you here on Strongbrook Radio today. So grateful that you've taken some time to be with us.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, Travis, before we jump into the meat and potatoes here, I'd love to just get into who is Travis. Tell us before we jump in, what got you even started on this path in the first place?
Well, I think like most kids growing up, everyone's dream is to play Major League Baseball or to be a professional football player and, lead your team to the Super Bowl and throw the game-winning pass. And so that was always what I envisioned growing up, is playing, Major League Baseball. My main role model was Derek Jeter, and I remember reading one of his books when I was like in 4th or 5th grade and just being really inspired. And as I got more into the sports, it naturally evolved into, well, how do I get better at these sports? And that's when I started working out, and my dad brought up his old ancient plastic weight set from downstairs. And I remember I went to go try to curl it, and I couldn't even curl it. I mean, it was only like 16 pounds, and my mom walks in and curls it immediately. And I felt so like weak and embarrassed, and that I couldn't even lift that. So, I mean, it all started with just doing curls, 3 sets of 10. That's all I knew. That's all I knew how to do. And so that's kind of where I started, and it just basically took off from there.
And you had that motivation of, mom's stronger than me. What's going on here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my mom can't be stronger than me.
That's awesome. So tell me, do you have any embarrassing moments, as you were kind of starting off here, or as you've been training other people? What's one of your most embarrassing moments?
Oh man, that's a good question. I have lots of embarrassing moments. And that's actually one of the things that most people have to get past, and that's one of the hurdles people have to get past when starting in their fitness, is over that embarrassment point. And when I started working out in the gym, I was coming down into a squat, and these cute girls walked by, and you're in a vulnerable position with your butt out, and I farted and right in front of them, and they all laughed, and I go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened. And then also when I was working with the University of Utah football team, when I was brand new up there, Coach Winningham loves to work out himself, so he's in the weight room every single day. And I was pretty new at the moment, so we didn't really have a good relationship. And obviously, my job is to help strengthen the athletes, get them prepared for their games and whatnot, and help motivate them. And I was on a bench press, and I didn't have a spotter, and I was coming down for one more rep. I was like, I can do one more rep. And as I came up, I got stuck, and I 90 degrees, shaking there for 5 seconds. And finally it came back down on my chest, and I had to roll it down over my stomach, put it on my legs. And Coach Winningham was just right there, saw the whole thing. And I mean, it was kind of embarrassing that, I couldn't finish my weight in front of him and everything. So it was it was, I guess, more intimidating.
Sure.
Than embarrassing. But I just kind of laughed on the inside.
You have to, I guess, in those scenarios, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, you know what? One thing that I'm impressed with you is you've got, again, your experience, the individuals and companies and programs that you've been able to work with, and you developed your company called Be Inspired Training. And this is a little bit different, I think, than a lot of other trainers out there, because to me, when I see that name, Be Inspired, that's more of a mindset thing, and so much of weightlifting, I think a lot of people think is just, it's pure brute strength. It's your body. You're just, you're getting into it. Why did you name your company Be Inspired Training?
Oh man, it goes really deep. And I remember I was at this conference years ago, and the guy was saying, you can't motivate your clients every single day. And I was like, what do you mean I can't motivate my clients? And he was like, they have to be inspired, because when they're inspired to do something and they have a story of what they want to create in their life and it's inspirational to them, they're going to be motivated every single day to stay on that track to achieve their goals. So what a lot of people do when they first start their fitness program, they ask the question, what do I need to do? And my question is, or what I say is, it's not what you need to do, it's who do you need to be? You need to be dedicated. You need to be disciplined. You need to be able to get over embarrassment. You need to be able to handle that initial pain that comes associated with it. So be inspired. Be is believing that you are that person. I hate the sentence, fake it till you make it. And what I tell my clients is, you have to believe that it's in there. You have to already believe that it's in there. And there's a reason why that there's these certain goals that you have are coming up. There's a reason for them. So believe that you are that person. And I believe it makes it much more powerful than just saying fake it till you make it.
I love that. And it's interesting for me. I watched my parents almost my whole life struggle with obesity. And my father at his heaviest was 420 pounds. And, he got to the point where often he couldn't even put his own shoes on. And he had tried every different program. He tried what was out there at the time anyway. He tried a lot of it. And I watched him struggle and struggle and struggle. And so this idea that, what do I need to do? You're right. It just doesn't work, because you'll do those things for a while, but unless you have internalized that change, unless you have actually become a different person, and not just even in your habits, but even in your attitude, you'll revert back. So I love this idea of being inspired. It's so powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. And you're totally right. And I'll meet with people all the time, and, they've tried everything. And, in my opinion, the fitness industry dirties the water to make it seem deep. And we're in the 21st century. We have all the science. You look at the celebrities and Madonna, she's in her 60s and look how amazing she looks like. We know what it takes to get results. There's no secret. I just feel like people are just being misled a lot of the times.
No, that makes sense. So let's get into some of that philosophy. What is your, aside from being inspired, what's your training philosophy?
Yeah, good question. And over the years, it's definitely has changed and, developed. And going back to what I was saying before is, focusing on what are the behavior changes that you need to do, that you need to make. Prepping your food, being able to go to the grocery store, scheduling out, organization. So it's developed more into life coaching. And so I've been doing life coaching for the last 2 years. And so I have some clients that are just specific life coaching, but all of my clients, whether they're training specifically or nutrition or sports, I'm still involving that whole mindset. And being a trainer, I understand what it takes to be strong. There has to be consistent resistance. There has to be a progression. And so the problem with a lot of people is they go, well, they look at people like Chris Crone or Gerald Rogers and they go, wow, you're so inspirational. You're so positive. How do you do that? It's something that they do every single day to strengthen their brain to become stronger. And the brain is exactly the same way as your muscles. Like if you don't train it, it gets weak. Well, if your muscle's weak, it can't go for very long. If it's weak, you can't lift as much weight. And then you start to see it. You start to see your muscle atrophy, and you see your fat start to accumulate. And the brain's the same way. Like people see negative people. You can just see it. People see, or I shouldn't say people see, but you aren't able to lift the things that you can in life. So as I get stronger in the gym, I go back to my original weight and I'm able to lift that so much easier. It's like, it's not even hard. And I believe that's the same thing in life. When we're able to strengthen our brain, things that once were hard for us become a lot easier for us. And we're able to have that endurance to stay on our path towards our goal. So it's about behavior. It's about that mindset. And then from there, it starts to get, technical and sciencey, I guess is the makeup word I would use is, I focus on what's called periodization as far as weight training goes. Nutrition is the whole philosophy of the nutrition is to get the body in a homeostasis, because anytime the body is under stress and it's dying in a sense, you're going to start to hold on to fat and you're going to start to metabolize muscle. So the whole goal is to get the body feeling good and to get it operating from a metabolism and a metabolic standpoint.
Yeah, everything you said I didn't understand, but I liked it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so let me go a little bit deeper on the nutrition aspect. So so our bodies are like, they're crazy strong. They want to stay alive. Like everything in this world tries to stay alive. Like I was watching Discovery Channel last week, and these fish that that their existence in life is weird, like, right? I mean, all they do is swim all day, but when a shark attacks them, like they fight whatever they can to stay alive. Like every living thing tries to stay alive. And when our body is under stress, it's going to fight to stay alive. And so what our body does when we don't do the right things from a nutrition standpoint, from a lifestyle standpoint, from an exercise standpoint, is it starts to break down muscle for energy, because we don't need muscle to survive. Okay, your body doesn't need muscle to survive. And so what it does is it actually starts to break down that muscle tissue, and you start to feed it to the cell, to the mitochondria of the cell, where you generate ATP, which is energy. And so the body now starts to hold on to fat, because you can go for a long period of time without fat. And so when your body feels good, when you're in that balance, now your body is able to kick up its energy higher. your metabolism is going to go higher. You're going to feel better, and you're going to start to preserve that muscle and break down fat. And so what people are doing is they're essentially killing their body. They're stressed in their work, in their relationships. They're not sleeping 8 hours a night. Like, it goes against biology. It goes against what we need to stay alive. Like, you need to sleep 8 hours a night. And when you start doing these things off balance, chemically the body starts to break down the wrong fuel. And that's one of the main problems. Now you multiply it with, we're not moving as much. Now you multiply it with all the chemicals that are in our food, the oversized portions and everything else. So but that's kind of the main philosophy that I take with my clients.
This is great. So for someone that comes to you, who obviously they've been making other choices in their lives, maybe they're extremely busy. What are some of those starting points? Because, sometimes I feel like, as I look at my schedule and other entrepreneurs that I know, and a lot of people that listen to our show are also that entrepreneur type of individual. We're racing, we're running from thing to thing, we're putting out fires. What are some of the first steps that we can take to get closer to that state, to get closer to where we're not so stressed out, or maybe where we're dealing with that stress a little bit better?
Yeah, good question. And so what I tell my clients is, so going back to that philosophy, is our goal is to get the body into balance. Tell the brain that your body's not dying. And so it takes about 2 to 3 days for you to die if you don't have water. Right. It's going to take about 10 days for you to die without sleep, which I thought that was weird. I thought you'd just fall asleep. I didn't think you could actually die from not sleeping, but you can.
Wow.
And then it takes about 22, 23 days to die without food. So if we want to tell the body and the brain that we're not dying, what are the two most important things that we should be focusing on?
Well, sleep for sure is one of them.
Yeah, sleep and water.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So a 1% drop in total body water weight will have negative effects on your energy. So when I ask someone how's their energy, what I'm really asking or trying to understand is, how is your metabolism right now? Because when your energy shuts down, basically what's happening is your metabolism is shutting down. And so 1% drop in total body water weight, you're going to have negative effects on energy. I have literally broken it down to 80 to 90% of the time. If I don't have a lot of energy during my workout, it's because I haven't been drinking enough water.
That's fascinating.
And so people what's a good energy supplement to take, and all these things. I go, water. And they go, no, really, Travis, I need a good supplement. And I go, you're not drinking enough water. I promise. And so I had one client, was dealing with headaches, bad headaches, migraines, and he was getting shots into his neck every single week to help prevent that. And I had him just start drinking more water, and within 3 days it stopped.
Amazing.
Within 3 days. And so I was like, I need some residual income on saving money from shots, because that gets expensive, and it's so much cheaper to keep yourself healthy than it is when you get sick. And then going back to the sleeping, human growth hormone. Have you ever heard of that before?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, it's called the fountain of youth hormone. And the reason why they call it the fountain of youth is because it gives us energy. It helps our body repair. It's what's called a lipolysis, which means it helps break down fat for energy. When we don't get into enough deep sleep at night, we don't get the full benefit of that hormone. So people every single night, they're sacrificing that hormone, the fountain of youth hormone. They're sacrificing every night, and they're missing out on benefits every single night from that deep sleep. Like, if people knew how beneficial sleep was for their goals, they would not miss one night of sleep, of not getting 7 to 8 hours.
Wow. This makes a lot of sense, especially when you break it down this way. I love this information, because these are simple changes that we can make. So many of us are, like I said, running around so fast that we forget to just drink water. I mean, I remember even maybe it was either yesterday or the day before, I was sitting down. I'm like, and it was towards the end of the day. And I'm like, I don't think I've drunk any water today. Like literally, I had just been running, and I had eaten stuff, but I hadn't really hydrated at all. And I was feeling lethargic. I'm like, man, I got to go drink some water. And my body was telling me, hey, you need something, And so I love this, this idea of we can just drink some more water that'll give us more energy. Obviously, we need to sleep more. I think so many of us think, hey, I can live on 4, 5, 6 hours of sleep a night. And what you're saying is, yeah, you can live, but man, it's going to deplete your quality of life a lot. And you won't accomplish your goals as much because your brain can't think as well. You don't have the energy that you need. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's so easy to not drink water. I mean, it's so easy to skip. The average person wakes up, they're not feeling good, because in the morning, your body's still trying to wake up, especially if you haven't got good sleep. And then the first thing that we want to do is drink coffee, which coffee is diuretic. So again, it's flushing more water out of your body. And then, so we skip breakfast and then we go to lunch and then we go out and get some fast food and pounded Diet Coke, which more caffeine, dehydrating you more. I mean, I would say, I don't have any statistics to show this. So this is basically just going off, my own personal thing that I've seen, but I'd say 80 to 90% of people are walking around on a day-to-day basis dehydrated.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. That sounds very accurate, especially since most people I work with and see, like you said, they're not walking around with that big bottle of water. They're walking around with that Diet Coke or something else like that. So yeah, no, that's probably very, very close. So what's the biggest problem that you see today in health with our country?
It's I think we're just being fed wrong information. And, like I was saying earlier, we're just looking for that next, shiny object. It's funny to see, and at the end of the day, there's, these programs, like I'm not the biggest fan of CrossFit, but at the end of the day, if someone loves that and it's going to get them moving, then do it. And that goes back to my original philosophy, like you have to make this fun, you have to make this enjoyable. And so find something that you like, but we're just following the next shiny object. We're not really making those behavior changes. And, we're just I do grocery store tours with clients, and it's just like, there's so much crap in the store. Our environment that we're in is just a losing environment. 50 years ago, we weren't in that bad of an environment. And so you didn't have to be conscious of what you ate or everything. Our food wasn't as bad as it is now. And so now technology is making us more lazy. We're getting more and more stressed. Work is demanding more of us. I believe that due to all these chemicals in the food and prescriptions that were being prescribed, like mentally, it's just messing with us, and it's causing an imbalance of that metabolism, inside the body. And it's just a perfect storm of bad. And going back to that evolution thing, like from an evolutionary standpoint, we didn't know when we were going to be able to eat. Like food wasn't readily available as it is now. So going back to evolution, we had to conserve energy. We had to conserve our energy because we didn't know when we was going to be able to eat next. And so we couldn't just go run around and be super physically active. We had to conserve energy. So the natural human being is not only negative mentally, but they're also lazy. Like we have to force ourselves to exercise. And it cracks me up to see these, what are they called, hoverboards, how popular they're getting.
I can't stand it because if you remember, hoverboard used to mean something, back
yeah,
back in the days of Michael J. Fox and
yeah.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
And so I actually tried getting on one. I almost fell on my butt. I mean, they're pretty cool, but I mean, I see people in the grocery store rolling around in one of these. I was like, you're missing out on that activity.
Right.
Of just moving. And so,
well, have you seen the movie WALL-E?
Have I seen, what is it called?
The movie WALL-E, the old, the Disney movie. Have you seen
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it though.
So I've got 7 kids. Okay. I got, they're all young. My oldest is 12. And anyway, this it's a cartoon movie. It was put out a few years ago, and there's this little. It's the human race basically has been taken off of Earth because of a nuclear holocaust kind of thing, and they're all on the spaceship, but they've all been kind of trained to not move, and everything's done for them because everything's automated, and they all float around in these chairs. So when you said that, I'm thinking, man, that's kind of like the Wall-E. We're going there. We can't even walk around the store, because you're right. I saw this lady just the other day. She wasn't on one of those hoverboards, but she was on one of those what are those larger ones that the gyro. Gosh, what are they called? The things that they do, the Segways. She was on a Segway.
Oh, yeah.
And she's rolling around a grocery store, like on a Segway, pushing a cart in front of her on a Segway. And I'm like, you're not even walking. Like, what? If you can stand on a Segway, you can walk, I think,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. The natural human is just lazy. Years ago, when I was at Lifetime Fitness, we changed one of our PT desks. So instead of having chairs to sit down on our computer, we had to stand up. So we're talking about trainers here, and the other desk didn't change. So it was still, you can sit down while working on your computer. And we were joking. We're like, yeah, now no one's going to want to be over here because you have to stand while working on your computer. Everyone's going to go over to the seated station. And sure enough, I mean, that's what all the trainers did. So, wow. I mean, you're talking about people that, do this for a living. And so it's just something naturally do. And it's good to be conscious of that, to be conscious that we are naturally, kind of lazy. And so we need to make ourselves move. So one of the things that I always encourage with people is, those step trackers, Fitbits, aim for 10,000 steps a day. At the minimum, that really helps us getting in the habit of really consciously moving more.
Yeah, no, I love that. And something you said earlier really hit me. You said we're fed the wrong information. And my question, I guess, is how do you see through all the static and chaos? Because there's so much out there. And like you said, even with going inside of a grocery store, where our environment is just chock full of bad information. And, we're told things constantly. I mean, I know for me, again, being raised in a family where both my parents were pretty obese, the interesting kind of dichotomy there was, although they were, overweight and not very healthy, didn't make a lot of healthy choices, my mom loved to read about health, and she was constantly trying to get healthy. And, one of the favorite books for me now that I've read as an adult that she, handed to me was Eat to Live by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. I don't know if you've ever read that book or not, but it's a phenomenal book. But it basically it starts to debunk all of these misconceptions, these things that say, like, you have to have X amount of meat in your diet, and you have to eat, this much of carbohydrates or whatever else, and then we've got this whole food pyramid. So we've got all these things that we've been taught that we believe as fact, that, obviously someone like yourself and many other trainers out there are learning all these alternative things that are actually working. So how do you sift through all that noise?
Gosh, you know what? I'm still growing and learning today. And even, it's funny, when I was up at the University of Utah and they're teaching me these things about nutrition, how, okay, be careful about fat, because if you take in too much fat, your cholesterol is going to go up. And so coming out of college, I was like, fat's bad. You need to stay away from fat. But after learning more, I understand that actually fat's really, really good for you. Dwight D. Eisenhower had a heart attack and his cholesterol was only 160. And so they put him on a cholesterol lowering diet, supposedly, and which meant cutting out fat and increasing their carbs, and his cholesterol actually went up.
Wow.
So it's, it's going back to that original philosophy. What I was saying is the body needs to be in a homeostatic balance, and you need to give the body what it needs to survive. So if you want to create, so essentially what we want to do is we want our body to break down fat for energy. And so we need to give our body good energy to break down that fat. And so trainers can argue all day long in circles, and I have my own philosophy, and it's worked great for my clients and everything else, not just for the short term, but for the long term. But it just goes back to being consistent. They always say if you're the smartest one in the room, then you're in the wrong room. And it kind of goes, I've seen a statistic. If you hang around friends that are obese, you have 171% chance of becoming obese too, or more likely to become obese. I mean, it was some crazy statistic.
Yeah.
So I don't remember exactly what it was, but it goes back to that original thinking, like, you're going to be a product of the people that you hang around with. And so just being conscious of that, and just like what you're doing right now, the listeners, I mean, they're listening, they're wanting to empower themselves, they're wanting to learn and be more educated about stuff. And I have, I have actually 3 mentors and coaches in my life. I want to get to the next level in all parts of my life. I want to have it all. And so having, someone help you get to that point, and, meeting up friends at the gym, and, or hiring a trainer, nutritionist, and, finding everything else that you can. Don't worry about exactly how to do it. I think everyone's always worried about, I don't know exactly how to do it. And so it stops them. Like, if I don't know how to do this, and it just overwhelms them to the point where it just puts a wall in front of them, and they just stop. And just understanding, like, why is this important to you in your life? Why are these goals so important to you? And the stronger that why is, and the stronger that story is, and that's actually the slogan of my company, what will your story be? And if you create this great positive story of what you want in your life, it makes it a lot more powerful, so you stay dedicated. So there's a lot of power in staying consistent.
I love that. I want to get back, and we're going to wrap up here a little bit. I'll ask you maybe a couple final questions, but I want to get back to where we kind of started off a little bit in just some of your background and what you've been doing. One thing that I feel like I've noticed is that a lot of individuals don't like working out in the traditional sense of working out, because it seems like a chore, but they love to go out and play sports, get active that way, whether it's basketball or baseball or pickup games of volleyball or whatever it might be. They love to do those things where, they're brought together with a group of people where it's more social in nature. And I know that like we mentioned in the beginning, a lot of what you've also done is worked with different sports groups and helped them with sports training. What can you tell people there in the sports training arena that can help them to, up their game, enjoy it more, and get more out of it?
Good question. And so, I work with a lot of youth with sports and training, and I just make it fun for them. And you really got to love what you do. It goes back to basic psychology. If you don't like it, if you see it as incredibly painful, then you're not going to stay doing it. So when I work with kids and athletes, and just, I guess, anyone in general, I try to make it as fun for them as I can. Girls love to put on the boxing gloves and punch my hands, and we do a little synergy exercise and have them connect it to some things that are holding them back in their life. Like, okay, what are you punching right now? And as soon as they, talk about their limiting beliefs and the things that they're angry about, they punch a little bit harder. So,
do they ever say their ex-boyfriend?
Yeah. Okay, pretend this is their face.
That's right.
So
That's right.
It's very, very powerful. And what I've noticed, a little sidetrack right here, but is what I've noticed over the years is my clients that work the hardest in the gym, they're the most successful in life. I've had like Gerald Rogers and Chris Crone, they work their butt off. Like, when I've trained them, they don't question it. They just go forward, and doesn't surprise me at all that they're successful. Because how you do anything is how you do everything, but, making it fun at the same time. And what a lot of coaches do with kids is, when it comes to conditioning, they just say, okay, give me a lap around the field. And if they don't come back holding their sides, then they say, well, give me another lap around the field. And I grew up, I hated running, because that's how we got punished is, we late for practice or screwed up, we had to run. So I grew up hating running, and I don't do a lot of running till this day. I'll go run with my dog, but I don't like running. So I make it fun for them when they do it. I make games. We do tug of war, and just make them, love is so powerful. And when you love something, you're dedicated to it. It's so much stronger. And so I'm not really focused on the endurance aspect of things when it comes to training, because kids get that from the coaches all the time, just run, run, run. And when you're going from a performance standpoint, it actually holds them back because it's teaching their muscles to respond slow. So whenever I'm working with kids or athletes, it's, focus on powerful movements, quick, fast, twitch muscles and mimicking sport movements and making a game out of it, challenging yourself, not worried about the person next to you, because it can become easily discouraging if you're comparing yourself to everyone. Just try to be the best you. The only person you need to be is the person you were yesterday.
I love it. That's fantastic and great advice. So you know what? Again, wrapping up here, what are some of the final words that you'd like to tell our listeners? Things that they could, something that they could take home right now and implement that could make a difference for them.
Write your story down. What do you want to accomplish? Why is that important? Create a story of, people. I meet with client and they're like, yeah, I want to get to this weight. And so when they say that, there's some type of story that is going to be positive in their life that comes through being at that weight. They'll feel more confident internally. And when they're more confident, they'll feel more attractive, around their spouse. Or else they'll have more energy with their kids. And so, I make them get super detailed. I make them write it down, and I make them read it to me, and then we go over it, and I help it make them more powerful. And the subconscious part of the brain is our powerhouse. It's what drives change. And so subconscious doesn't know past. It doesn't know future. It only knows now. So when they write their story, it has to be as if it already happened. So it's like, man, I woke up in the morning and I feel so amazing. I got a great night's sleep and I'm so excited for the day to start. I'm going to go to the gym, and man, as I'm brushing my teeth, I'm just noticing the muscles in my arms and it feels good. And I just can't help but smile. And you're just drawing this powerful emotion into it. And when you're emotionally involved, it makes us want to stay that course.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, Travis, it's been so amazing having you on the show today. Again, this is information that our network has been thirsting after, I believe. This idea of improving your body, obviously improving your mind goes right along with that. And so it's been such a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for taking some time to be with us this morning.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks. You had some good questions. I
appreciate that as well. And again, this is information that they can take. And by the way, for anyone that wants to know, Travis Brady does have information also on the Mentoring Network. So if you want more of him, we've got some audio programs that we put on the Mentoring Network from him to help you, again, reach newer and better levels of success. Guys, this has been Stephen Michael Miller here with Travis Brady today on helping you improve not just your body, but also your mind, and helping you take your body and your mind to greater levels of success. Make sure that you take this information and you share it with other people. Get the word out. Let people know what it is that you're learning on a weekly basis, and help them to get that same information so they can make some great steps in their lives. With that, everyone, again, this is Stromberg Radio with Stephen Michael Miller, and I've been on with Travis Brady. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, everybody, and have a fantastic week.